The story is about Emily Johnson, a young pregnant woman on her way to the town of Oakwood to find her missing fiancé, James. Upon arrival, she discovers that James was killed shortly after returning home. Heartbroken but determined, Emily meets James's family and is warmly welcomed by them. "Welcome, dear friends. Let me tell you a story of deep love, unimaginable loss, and human resilience, the ability to find hope amid the ashes of tragedy. Enjoy this tale." Emily Johnson stepped off the Greyhound bus in Oakwood, tears streaming down her face. The cross-country journey from California had been a blur of grief. Her life ended the day her fiancé, James, was killed, but the tiny life growing inside her wouldn't let her give up. "I have to keep going for you, baby girl," she whispered, touching her round belly. She composed herself, gripped her battered suitcase tightly, and headed towards the town's main street. 2 years earlier, at 19, Emily barely made ends meet in Los Angeles. Abandoned at birth and raised in the foster system, she worked night shifts at a factory while taking engineering classes during the day. Sleep was a luxury she rarely had. Everything changed the night James Smith walked into her life. With a muscular build, the handsome installation technician was hired to install new equipment after the factory was bought out. Emily tried not to stare as his muscular frame moved expertly around the machinery. She returned to reality when her supervisor yelled that the newcomer needed an experienced operator to train him on the automated assembly line. "Emily, come over here and show Mr. Carter the ropes," her boss growled. Her cheeks flushed as she approached the tall blonde James. "Hi, I'm Emily. Let me show you the basic controls." James smiled brightly. "Call me James, and thank you, Emily." By the end of her shift, they had struck up an easy conversation. James offered her a ride home, saying it was the least he could do after she patiently showed him the machines. Weeks later, they had their first date at a bowling alley. They were inseparable when James's contract ended 6 months later. Their whirlwind romance hit a snag when Emily discovered she was pregnant 3 months into their relationship. Fearful of being abandoned again, she blurted out the life-changing news as soon as James arrived at her apartment. To her surprise, his face broke into a radiant smile. James pulled her into a tight embrace, kissing her deeply. "Marry me, Emily. Let me be a real man." Tears of joy streamed down her cheeks as she nodded fiercely. "Yes, 1,000 times. Yes." Emily's insecurities flared when James announced they would move to his hometown of Oakwood once his job was finished. "Your family doesn't know about my upbringing. I'm afraid they'll judge me for being an orphan," Emily confessed in a moment of weakness. James gently stroked her cheek. "Hey, that's in the past. You're part of my family now, no matter what. I'll explain everything to my mom and brother before we arrive, okay? I love you, babe." With James's reassurance, Emily felt ready to start their new life together. 3 months into her pregnancy, James left for Oakwood ahead of Emily to set up their new home. She expected him to return in a few weeks, but weeks turned into months without a word from him. Emily's friends and co-workers whispered that James had gotten cold feet and abandoned her, but she refused to believe the man she loved would do something so cruel. When she tried calling his family, she received only brief, terse replies. Alone and frightened, Emily decided that if James wouldn't come to her, she would go to Oakwood to find him herself. Cradling her pregnant belly, Emily pushed through James's former workplace door, determined to find answers. Her supervisor's face fell when he saw her. "Emily, didn't anyone tell you?" The man swallowed heavily. "There was an incident right after James returned home to Oakwood. He was killed." The words hit her like a punch to the gut, knocking the wind out of her. She collapsed into a chair, sobbing as if her heart would break into a million pieces. Amid her grief, she vaguely noticed the office accountant kneeling beside her. "He didn't abandon you, dear," the older woman whispered, patting her shoulder. "James was attacked by robbers the day after he returned home to his family. They said he didn't suffer, it was quick." She handed Emily a map. "This is where he's buried. I'm so sorry." Emily wasn't sure how she reached the serene cemetery, clutching the map and a tattered photo of her beloved James. She wandered among the old headstones, reading names until she finally stopped before a freshly dug grave. James Carter, beloved son and brother, April 10, 1978, August 22, 2022, taken too soon. No, she whispered, sinking as the cold reality washed over her. James would never come back. She would raise their child alone. A roll of thunder snapped her out of her daze. As the rain began to pour, Emily sought shelter, finding an open mausoleum, thankfully unoccupied. She huddled in the corner, wrapping her coat tightly around herself. The ringing broke the silence of a phone. Startled, Emily noticed an expensive smartphone abandoned on the floor. She picked it up as the screen rang again, displaying the name Michael. Emily's voice trembled as she answered. "Hello?" "Oh, thank God," a frantic male voice responded. "I'm sorry to bother you, but I lost my phone at the cemetery yesterday while surveying for a renovation project. Did you find it?" "I think so," Emily replied weakly, touching her contracting belly. "It's ringing in this old mausoleum." As she tried to explain where she was, dizziness overcame her. The phone slipped from her hand as the world around her faded away. Emily first noticed the steady beeping, then the bright lights. She slowly opened her eyes, finding herself in a pristine hospital room filled with flowers. A groan of pain escaped her lips, drawing the attention of the man sitting by her bed. Emily's heart tightened. He looked strikingly like James, from the sandy hair to the chiseled jaw, only the hazel eyes instead of blue, proving he wasn't her lost fiancé. "You're awake, thank God," the man sighed in relief. "I'm Emily," she croaked. "Emily Johnson, and you're Michael." He smiled sadly. "Michael Brown, yes. I'm afraid you already know my brother." The pain surged back, but Emily fought to stay composed. "You found me at the cemetery? What about the baby?" "Your baby is perfectly healthy, Ms. Watson. Rightfully so, as you're carrying my niece or nephew." A voice came from the door. Emily looked up to see a distinguished woman entering the room, her light brown hair streaked with silver. When the woman's eyes landed on Emily, they cried. "Oh, my poor, brave girl." The woman rushed to Emily's bedside, caressing her cheek with a tenderness Emily had never known. "Michael has told me everything. I'm Helen, James's mother. And you? You are the love of his life, the one he couldn't stop talking about before he... Helen broke into sobs, holding Emily tightly like a mother mourning her child's tragedy. Emily looked up at the ceiling, trying to contain the overwhelming emotions within her. Michael grasped her hand. 2 years later, Emily gazed through the large windows of the Carter family's stately home in Oakwood, watching a lively little girl chase a mischievous golden retriever puppy across the lush backyard. "Lily, come give Grandma a hug." Helen's melodious voice called from the kitchen. Emily smiled wistfully as her red-haired daughter abandoned her game, tiny legs running towards the open patio door and the waiting arms of her loving grandmother. Helen Brown opened her heart and went home to Emily without hesitation. "Look at my beautiful girls," the elegant woman sighed contentedly, lifting the giggling Lily and kissing her rosy cheeks. Emily was still amazed at the family she had gained after James's tragic death. Helen promised to care for Emily and nurture Lily as her grandchild in memory of her eldest son. With Helen's bottomless retirement fund and James's modest life insurance policy, Emily could focus on continuing her studies at the local university to become a lawyer. She owed everything to the Carter family, especially Michael. Stroking her hand over the cool glass, Emily watched James's younger brother running around the yard with the playful puppy. His t-shirt clung to his muscular frame, and Emily became increasingly drawn to him over the past few years. She and Michael had bonded through their shared grief for James and dedication to Lily. Initially, their relationship was one of solemn empathy, two lost souls clinging to the memory of a loved one. But recently, the air had been filled with the sweet tension of budding desires. Emily knew Helen sensed it clearly, the mischief in her eyes whenever she caught her son and daughter-in-law exchanging longing glances. It couldn't be more obvious. Helen wanted Emily and Michael to find happiness in each other's arms, but could Emily embrace that joy after the immeasurable loss of her first love? A knock on the patio door jolted Emily from her thoughts. She turned to see Michael grinning playfully, his t-shirt damp with sweat. "Miss Emily?" he greeted cheerfully, using the nickname that made Emily's heart flutter with longing. "I thought I might take my favorite niece for some ice cream if these lovely ladies want to join us." Emily giggled at Lily's excited squeal from the kitchen. "I don't think she'll say no." Once again, her eyes lingered on Michael's chiseled chest and the way his smile crinkled the corners of his eyes charmingly. He was heartbreakingly handsome, and when he looked at Emily with such warmth and tenderness, she felt her defenses beginning to melt. "Ice cream would be perfect," Emily heard herself reply, her voice slightly breathless. "Let me grab Lily's sweater and we'll—" Helen suddenly appeared behind them, holding Lily, who was already adorably dressed in her sweater. "Why don't you two go on ahead?" The mischievous smile on her lips spoke volumes. "A little private time might be good for you both." Mother and daughter shared a knowing wink. Emily felt her cheeks heat up, but she was led down the hallway with Michael's warm hand on her back before she could protest. A tingle of electricity spread through her as he stood close. "Shall we go?" Michael asked in a low voice, his hazel eyes smoking in a way that made Emily's heart race. It may be time to let her heart embrace the future instead of clinging to the past. Unable to find her voice, Emily nodded and let Michael lead her towards the waiting car and their next chapter. Helen watched them go with a satisfied smile. She had vowed to bring Lily the family Emily and James would have built together. Now it seemed the final missing piece had fallen into place. "My girl," the proud grandmother chuckled, playing with her granddaughter. "True love has finally found you." This story is a powerful testament to human resilience in the face of heartbreaking loss and the ability to regain happiness from the ashes of tragedy. The character of Emily Johnson is portrayed with inner strength and determination, despite facing the pain of losing her love and the responsibility of raising a child alone. The story also highlights the importance of family and the support of those around us, as the Carter family warmly welcomed and helped Emily through her most difficult times. The relationship between Emily and Michael, evolving from empathetic friendship to love, demonstrates healing and hope. It shows that people can find new joy and happiness, no matter how great the sorrow is. Helen, the mother of James and Michael, is a model of support and unconditional love, playing a crucial role in helping Emily and Michael find each other. However, the story also raises the question of whether it is easy to accept new love after experiencing such a significant loss. It encourages readers to think about how we deal with pain, seek healing, and open our hearts to new opportunities in life. The story is a beautiful symphony of love, loss, and hope, encouraging us to cherish our loved ones and always keep faith in the future.